keep you updated. 158. Not yet, guys.
Not yet. My process was
G'day, well this is the same thing
significant indeed, Mark. The symbolism is all over this. We're expecting President Zelenski to arrive with the flags have been raised. They have been hoovering the red carpet for this, his first trip abroad since those 301 days of conflict. We are far, aren't we here, from Washington DC, but what is our discussions are on the peace of war as the US President steps onto the red carpet to meet his guest, President Biden, with his wife, Jill. Now, yes, there is symbolism, there is a strong message from all this to the wider world. The White House officials talking about this as an injection of sustenance, of mental peace, not just for American stability, but allies around the country.
Пане президенте, з яким результатом ви плануєте поїхати в Вашингтон? Пане президенте! Пане президенте, з якими результатами плануєте поїхати з Вашингтона?
okay. Good up, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine.
President Zelenski, I'm honored to welcome you back to the White House. We spent an awful lot of time on the telephone as well as on video, but it's good to see you in person again. And we've been in close and frequent communication throughout this conflict from the very beginning, but particularly, it's particularly meaningful to talk with one another in person, look each other in the eye, because leadership through this terrible crisis has inspired the Ukrainian people, as you have done, Mr. President, and the American people and the entire world. This visit to Washington, your first trip outside Ukraine since February, comes as President Putin is escalating his attacks, his brutal attacks, targeting critical infrastructure to make life as hard as possible for not only innocent Ukrainians, but children and young children, and everything from orphanages to schools. It's just outrageous what he's doing. And we've, as we've heard, as we head into the new year, it's important for the American people and for the world to hear directly from you, Mr. President, about Ukraine's fight and the need to continue to stand together through 2023. This visit also falls on the 300-day mark of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine. 300 days since Putin launched an unprovoked, unjustified, all-out assault on the free people of Ukraine. 300 days of Ukrainian people showing Russia and the world their steel backbone, their love of country, and their unbreakable determination, and I emphasize unbreakable determination, to choose their own path. To Ukrainian people, I say to them all, you have demonstrated, you have shown your strong stand against aggression in the face of the imperial appetites of autocrats who wrongfully believed they might be able to make might right, and they're not able to do it. Thus far, they've stood alone, you know, and but you haven't stood alone. You have had significant help. We've never stand alone. You will never stand alone. When Ukraine's freedom was threatened, the American people, like generations of Americans before us, did not hesitate. The support from all across this country, Americans of every walk of life, Democrats and Republicans alike, had the resources and to rebound and resounding united way to provide unequivocal and unbending support for Ukraine. Because we understand in our bones that Ukraine's fight is part of something much bigger. The American people know that if we stand by in the face of such blatant attacks on liberty and democracy and the core principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity, the world would surely face worse consequences. And as I said, when Putin rolled his tanks into Ukraine in February, American people are prepared to have us stand up to bullies, stand up for freedom. That's who we are as Americans, and that's exactly what we've done. Even before the invasion began and Putin threatened Ukraine by building up his forces, we helped make sure Ukraine would be prepared to defend itself, even before they crossed into Ukraine. We provided a steady stream of defensive weapons, including air defense systems and artillery, ammunition, and so much more. And we've not done it alone. From the very beginning, the United States rallied allies and partners from around the world to stand strong with Ukraine and impose unprecedented, and I emphasize unprecedented, sanctions and export controls on Russia, making it harder for the Kremlin to wage this brutal war. More than 50 nations have committed nearly 2,000 tanks and other armored vehicles, more than 800 artillery systems, more than 2 million rounds of artillery ammunition, and more than 50 advanced multiple rocket launching systems, anti-ship and air defense systems, all to strengthen Ukraine. Together, we provided billions of dollars in direct budgetary support to make sure the Ukrainian government can keep providing basic fundamental services of the Iranian people, like health care, education, and emergency personnel. This includes another $2 billion that in direct budget support from the American people that the World Bank distributed earlier this week. We provided humanitarian assistance to help the millions of Ukrainians who have been forced to flee their homes because of Putin's inhumane, brutal war. Communities across Europe have opened their hearts and their homes to help Ukrainians in need. The United States has been proud to welcome more than 221,000 Ukrainians seeking refuge since March of 2022, including as part of Uniting for Ukraine, as part of our Uniting for Ukraine program. And today, USAID is committing more than $374 million in urgently needed humanitarian assistance for Ukraine. This will help provide food and cash assistance for more than 1.5 million Ukrainian people, as well as access to health care, safe drinking water, and help stay warm in the winter for more than 2.5 million Ukrainians. The United States and our allies and partners around the world have delivered a broad range of assistance at historic speed and has been critical to bolstering Ukraine's success thus far. Ukraine has won the Battle of Kyiv, has won the Battle of Kherson, has won the Battle of Kharkiv. Ukraine has defied Russia's expectations at every single turn. And President Zelensky, you have made it clear that he is open to pursuing, well, let me put it this way. He's not open, but you're open to pursuing peace. You're open to pursuing a just peace. We also know that Putin has no intention of stopping this cruel war. And the United States is committed to ensuring that the brave Ukrainian people can continue to defend their country against Russian aggressions as long as it takes. And I want to thank the members of Congress for their broad bipartisan support to Ukraine. And I look forward to signing the omnibus bill soon, which includes $45 billion in additional funding for Ukraine. I'll also sign into law the National Defense Authorization Act, which includes authorities to make it easier for the Department of Defense to procure critical munitions and defense materials for Ukraine and other key materials to strengthen our national security. Today, I'm announcing the next tranche of our security assistance to Ukraine. $1.85 billion package of security assistance that includes both direct transfers of equipment that Ukraine needs, as well as contracts to supply ammunition Ukraine will need in the months ahead for its artillery, its tanks, and its rocket launchers. Critically, in addition to these new capabilities, like precision aerial munitions, the package will include a Patriot missile battery, which will train Ukrainian forces to operate as part of the ongoing effort to help bolster Ukraine's air defense. It's going to take some time to complete the necessary training, but the Patriot battery will be another critical asset for Ukraine as it defends itself against Russian aggression. Altogether, today's new security assistance with humanitarian funding amounts to $2.2 billion in additional support for the Ukrainian people. We should be clear about what Russia's doing. It is purposefully attacking Ukraine's critical infrastructure, destroying the systems that provide heat and light to the Ukrainian people during the coldest, darkest part of the year. Russia is using winter as a weapon, freezing people, starving people, cutting them off from one another. It's the latest example of the outrageous atrocities the Russian forces are committing against innocent Ukrainian civilians, children, and their families. And the United States is working together with our allies and partners to provide critical equipment to help Ukraine make emergency repairs to their power transmission systems and strengthen the stability of Ukraine's grid in the face of Russia's targeted attacks. We're also working to hold Russia accountable, including efforts in Congress that will make it easier to seek justice for Russia's war crimes in Ukraine. Let me close with this. Tonight is the fourth night of Hanukkah. A time when Jewish people around the world, President Zelensky and many of the families among them, honored the timeless miracle, the small band of warriors fighting for their values and their freedom against a much larger foe, and how they endured and how they overcame. How the flame of faith, with only enough oil for one day, burned brightly for 8 days. A story of survival and resilience that reminds us that the coldest days of the year, that light will always prevail over darkness, and hope drives away despair. And that the human spirit is unconquerable as long as there are good people willing to do what is right. This year has brought so much needless suffering and loss to the Ukrainian people. But I want you to know, President Zelensky, I want you to know that all the people of Ukraine to know as well. The American people have been with you every step of the way, and we will stay with you. We will stay with you for as long as it takes. What you're doing, what you've achieved, it matters not just to Ukraine, but to the entire world. And together, I have no doubt we'll keep the flame of liberty burning bright, and the light will remain and prevail over the darkness. Thank you for being here, Mr. President. We're going to stand with you.
Thank you. Шановний пане президенте, please, if you can. Шановний пане президенте Байден, шановні присутні, шановні журналісти, пані та панове. Я приїхав до Сполучених Штатів, щоб передати слова вдячності від українського народу усім американцям, народу, який робить так багато для України. Я дякую вам всім за це. Цей візит в Сполучені Штати Америки став дійсно історичним для України, для наших відносин з Америкою і для американського лідерства. За 300 днів цієї війни ми розпочали дійсно новий етап у наших взаєминах України і США. Ми вийшли на рівень реального союзництва, яке на 100% наповнено реальним змістом. І я сьогодні це відчув на всіх моїх зустрічах, в усіх наших переговорах. Я хочу ще раз подякувати пану президенту Байдену за щиру підтримку і, що дуже важливо, розуміння України, а також за будівництво і підтримання міжнародної коаліції для посилення міжнародного правопорядку. Я вдячний президенту Байдену за його особисті зусилля, дуже цілеспрямовані, мудрі кроки, які об'єднують світову спільноту, зокрема глобальний південь. Коли усі країни світу займають чітку позицію на захист міжнародного права, на мирну співпрацю і взаєморозуміння, це корисно для усіх країн, безумовно, для України, для Сполучених Штатів Америки. Я хочу подякувати Конгресу за двопалатну і двопартійну підтримку і перечуваю сьогодні змістовні зустрічі з очільниками Палати представників і Сенату за рішення Конгресу на посилення свободи. І зараз я якраз проводжу цей візит новими заходами в Конгресі. Головне питання усіх моїх переговорів сьогодні – це зміцнення України, це наступний рік, це наш рух до перемоги у війні за незалежність. Ми маємо чудові новини, з якими я повертаюся додому. Президент Байден сьогодні оголосив про новий пакет військової допомоги Україні обсягом біля $2 мільярдів. І найсильнішим елементом цього пакету є комплекс Patrio, те, що суттєво посилить нашу протиповітряну оборону. Це важливий крок у створенні дієвого повітряного щита для України. Тільки так ми позбавимо державу-терориста її головного інструменту терору, можливості бити по наших містах, по нашій енергетиці, по наших людях. Дуже важливою частиною нашої розмови з паном президентом була координація подальших наших стратегічних кроків. Ми детально говорили про те, чого ми очікуємо від наступного року і до чого ми готуємось. Це важливо для усіх українців. І я сподіваюся, що дякую, по-перше, ще раз пану президенту за 45 мільярдів, І це велика допомога. І я сподіваюся, що Конгрес ухвалить пакет фінансової підтримки для нашої держави. Дійсно, майже 45 мільярдів доларів. Дякую за таку велику підтримку. Кожен долар такої інвестиції Сполучених Штатів у захист свободи означатиме реальне і відчутне посилення глобальної безпеки. Я знаю, що американське лідерство залишиться міцним та глобально відчутним. Сполучені Штати стоятимуть на захисті наших спільних цінностей, цінностей свободи. І я вірю, що попри будь-які персональні зміни в складі Конгресу, двопалатна і двопартійна підтримка буде зберігатись. Я дякую всім, хто працює саме заради цього. Звичайно, на усіх зустрічах сьогодні звучить і звучатиме питання про протидію російському терору, відновлення зруйнованої інфраструктури, передусім енергетики. Ми маємо пройти цю зиму. Маємо захистити наших людей. Маємо бути і будемо в таких речах максимально конкретними. Це ключове гуманітарне питання для нас зараз. Це питання виживання. Обговорюємо подальший санкційний та юридичний тиск на державу-терориста. Росія має відповідати за усе те, що робить проти нашої держави, проти наших людей, проти усієї Європи та вільного світу. І принципова річ – це формула миру, можливості американського лідерства. Щодо цього ми пропонуємо дуже конкретні пункти і те, що Америка може зробити, щоб допомогти їх виконати. Ми пропонуємо Global Peace Formula Summit, і я вдячний нашим американським союзникам за те, що вони нас чують і відчувають так само, як і ми, наскільки важливо зберігати ініціативу і шукати, як відновити територіальну цілісність України і міжнародний порядок. І останнє. Маємо чітке розуміння, як будуть посилені наші оборонні спроможності в найближчі місяці. Я про це не хочу зараз говорити детально. Я думаю, ви всі розумієте, чому, але я за це дуже вдячен президенту Байдену. Дякую за увагу. Слава Україні!
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We're going to take questions from 4 different reporters, and let's start with Alex of Yahoo News.
Thank you, Mr. President. In 2022, you presided over a bipartisan international coalition to support Ukraine. How will you keep that coalition from fraying in 2023? And President Zelensky, welcome to Washington on this beautiful winter day. What is your message to the American people?
Well, answering your questions first, I'm not at all worried about holding the alliance together, NATO and the European Union, as well as other nations. I assume this is simultaneous. All right. Okay. I've never seen NATO or the EU more united about anything at all. And I see no sign of there being any change. We all know what's at stake here. Our European partners, all the more so. They fully understand it. This is about, we've never seen a major invasion of a European country since World War II. And they see no signs that Putin is going to do anything to change that unless we resist and we help the Ukrainians resist. We all know what's at stake, the very idea of sovereignty, the UN Charter. Putin thought he would weaken NATO. Instead, he strengthened NATO. I once said to him that we talk about he wanted to see Europe end up being divided. And instead, what did he do? He produced a more united Europe with Sweden and Finland joining. So I don't see any reason to believe there'll be any lessening of support. And as we reach out to our NATO allies, our Secretary of Defense and our Secretary of State, we get continued support, not only there, but also from around the world, from Japan and many other countries as well. So I feel very good about the solidarity of support for Ukraine.
Thank you for your question. Thank you very much. You asked me what is the message to American people. I think I will tell you very simple things, which are very important for me. And I think so that we have the same values and the same understanding of the life, the sense of the life. My message, I wish you peace. I think that is the main thing, and you understand it only when the war in your country, when somebody like these terrorists from Russia come to your houses. And I wish you to see your children alive and adult. And I wish you to see your children when they will go to universities and to see their children. I think that is the main thing what I can wish you. And of course, to be together with us, jointly, because we really fight for our common victory against this tyranny. That is real life, and we will win. And I really want win together. Thanks so much. Not want, sorry, I'm sure.
You call on one of your people, press person?
Yeah. Будь ласка. Канал Інтер.
Yeah, thank you. Dmitry Anopchenko, Ukrainian television. President Zelensky, President Biden, I got a question to both of you, but firstly, as Ukrainian, and I mean it, I want to thank the United States for supporting my country. And, you know, my family is in Ukraine, and I definitely understand they will not be alive today if America will not support my country, both politically and militarily. So thank you for this. It's honest.
We will.
And as of my question, we enter a new phase of this war, and you definitely discussed today which path to choose, how the war could come to an end, and what's next. Will it turn into a new counteroffensive or some kind of peace talks? So, Mr. Biden, Mr. Zelensky, could you share your vision? What's the fair way to end this war, and how do you understand this word's fair peace? Thank you.
My view.
Your guy.
I think we have. Come here. I see. I see.
Although I like him very much already.
That's good. Ви розпочали це запитання. I'm sorry. Sometimes I switch on my native language. Ви почали з того, що ви сказали, що ваша сім'я в Україні і без допомоги Сполучених Штатів. Так і є. Лідерська позиція Сполучених Штатів в допомозі, вона так і є. І це правда, але я хочу, щоб ми не забували, що без міцного українського народу, без наших Збройних сил України, ваша б сім'я дійсно була б в небезпеці. І я вибачаю, що я так почав, це для нас дуже важливо. Що стосується вашого запитання, я не зовсім розумію, що ви хочете почути. Як буде далі? Справедливий мир. Я не знаю, що таке справедливий мир. Дуже філософське запитання. А чи є справедлива війна? Мені здається, що, ви знаєте, для нас, для всіх, мир по-різному справедливий. Для мене, як для президента, справедливий мир – це що? Ніяких компромісів щодо нашої землі, територіальної цілісності, нашого суверенітету. Це найголовніше. Відшкодування всіх тих збитків, які завдала російська агресія. Але, я вибачаю, що я сьогодні так говорю багато про дітей, але ви сказали про справедливий мир. Але я хочу вам сказати, як батько, мені цікаво. Ви знаєте, як у нас батьки втратили своїх синів на фронті, або своїх доньок, які були медсестрами. А що для них справедливий мир? Для них всі ці гроші – nothing. Для них їх не цікавить ніяке відшкодування. Все, чим вони живуть, це in English revenge, да? Помста. Вони живуть помстою. Тому я вважаю, що це велика трагедія в цілому війна. І чим довше йде ця війна, чим довше йде ця агресія Російської Федерації, тим більше буде таких батьків, які будуть жити помстою. Бо інакшого сенсу у них жити більше немає. І це те, що я бачу. І я знаю таких людей. Немає ніякого справедливого миру в війні, яку нам принесли. Ці навіть не можу знайти слова, бо ми просто в Білому домі. Не можу. Культурне слово. Ці нелюди. Окей.
Let me respond. I think we share the exact same vision, and that a free, independent, prosperous, and secure Ukraine is the vision. We both want this war to end. We both want it to end. And as I've said, it could end today if Putin had any dignity at all and did the right thing and just said, pulled out. But that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen now. So what comes next? What we talked about today was we're going to continue to help Ukraine succeed on the battlefield. It can succeed in the battlefield with our help and the help of our European allies and others. So that if and when President Zelenski is ready to talk with the Russians, he will be able to succeed as well because he will have won on the battlefield. And, you know, I don't think we should underestimate the impact this war is having on Russia and the losses they're suffering. And you saw just, I think it was 2 days ago, Putin saying that this is much tougher than he thought. He thought he could break NATO. He thought he could break the West. He thought he could break the alliance. He thought he could be welcomed by the Ukrainian people that were Russian-speaking. He was wrong, wrong, and wrong. He continues to be wrong. The sooner he makes it clear that he cannot possibly win this war, that's when the time we have to put this president in a position to be able to decide how he wants the war to end. My turn, huh?
Please. Yeah.
Phil Matterly, Matt Matterly of CNN.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome, Mr. President. Mr. President, to start with you, your advisors often talk about how critically important you view face-to-face interaction. I'm wondering, after spending 2+ hours face-to-face with President Zelensky, what you learned or what you took from the meeting that perhaps you couldn't glean or learn in the phone calls or video conferences, and somewhat tied to that, was there any discussion related to the U.S. assessment that Russia would not take escalatory action now that Patriots are being sent, a Patriot battery will be delivered?
Let me answer the first question, the first part of your question. You know I get kidded for saying that there's all politics is personal. It's all about looking someone in the eye, and I mean it sincerely. I don't think there's any substitute for sitting down face-to-face with a friend or a foe and looking them in the eye. And that's exactly what's happening at this moment. We've done that more than once, and we're going to continue to do it. And the winter is setting in, and Putin is increasingly going after civilian targets and women and children, orphanages. This guy is, well, but he's going to fail. And he's going to fail. He's already failed because he now knows that there's no way he's ever going to occupy all of Ukraine. There's no way in which he's going to be accepted by the Ukrainian people. And so he's failed in the past, and it was very important for him and everyone else to see that President Zelensky and I are united, two countries together, to make sure he cannot succeed. And I think I may be mistaken, but I know I judge every leader by the way what they say to me, their consistency, and look me in the eye. This guy has to his very soul is who he says he is. It's clear who he is. He's willing to give his life for his country, and all the folks that came with him today. And so I think it's important for him to know we are going to do everything in our power to see that he succeeds.
Thanks.
What was the second part of your question?
I just asked if you had discussed how the U.S. calculated the escalatory effect of sending a Patriot missile battery to Ukraine.
I did not discuss that at all with the president, but we do not. It's a defensive system. It's a defensive weapons system. It's not escalatory. It's defensive, and it's easy to not. And we'd love to not have to have them use it. Just stop the attacks.
President Zelensky, again, welcome. You mentioned earlier that you wanted to make this trip for a while now. Why now? And also, can you tell me what you think the message you are sending to President Putin is, given the fact that 24 hours ago you were on the ground in the front lines with artillery echoing behind you, and now you find yourself in the White House standing next to the president?
Дуже дякую вам за запитання. Що стосується, який меседж послати Путіну. Я стою сьогодні тут, в Сполучених Штатах Америки, з президентом Байденом, тому що я його поважаю як людину, як президента, як чоловіка за його людяність. І для мене це суб'єкт, людина історична. І я можу посилати меседжі президенту Байдену. Наприклад, якщо зараз не дуже серйозно, ви сказали, що буде після Патріотів. Після Патріотів ми ще раз дамо сигнал президенту Байдену, що ми ще хотіли би отримати Патріот. That is our life. We are in war. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. That is my appreciation. Що стосується президента Путіна. В 2019 році у нас була нормандська зустріч, і я в 2019 році став президентом України. Тоді ми посилали максимальні меседжі президенту Путіну, щоб в коєму разі не було повномасштабного вторгнення, щоб зупинити агресію, щоб відновити нашу територіальну цілісність, щоб знайти дипломатичне порозуміння. Не дай Боже, може бути повномасштабна війна. Він говорив, такого ніколи не буде, говорив всім, він всім брехав. Які меседжі можна йому, після того, що він отруїв наше цивільне життя, спокійне життя, і бачить себе, судячи по його меседжам, що після України, він говорить, ми можемо піти далі, де раніше була потужна присутність Радянського Союзу. Для чого людині, я вважаю, з хворим відношенням до світу, абсолютно неадекватним, для чого йому відправляти меседжі? Він повинен бути сьогодні зацікавленим, щоб світ на нього звертав увагу. Він більше не суб'єкт цивілізованих людей. Він повинен бути зацікавлений, щоб зберегти хоч щось від культури і історії його народу і його держави. Тому це його вправа. Канал 1+1.
This will be the last question.
Olga Koshelenko, 1+1 TV channel. When the full-scale invasion started, U.S. officials said that Ukraine cannot receive Patriots because, as you said, it might be unnecessary escalation. And now it is happening. Right now, today, it is happening. And now Ukraine desperately needs more capabilities, including long-range missiles, ATACMS. Maybe I sound naive, but can we make a long story short and give Ukraine all capabilities it needs and liberate all territories rather sooner than later? Thank you.
Well, his answer is yes.
I agree.
Let me be straightforward with you here. Look, the fact is that it's important to remember that before Russia invaded, we dedicated an enormous amount of security assistance to Ukraine. And we've given Ukraine what they needed, when they needed to defend themselves. And since the invasion, that has resulted in more than $20 billion in terms of security assistance. Just today, I approved another $1.8 billion in additional assistance to Ukraine for it to succeed on the battlefield. And we're focused on working with allies and partners to generate capability in 4 key areas. Air defense, as we know today, the Patriot is the best of that. Secondly is to, and we're looking to do more, We provided hundreds of advanced artillery systems and from dozens of countries. Thirdly, we've worked with partners to get Ukraine tanks and other armored vehicles. And fourthly, we've announced today another 200,000 rounds of additional ammunition. Now you say, why don't we just give Ukraine everything there is to give? Well, for two reasons. One, there's an entire alliance that is critical to stay with Ukraine. And the idea that we would give Ukraine material that is fundamentally different than is already going there would have a prospect of breaking up NATO and breaking up the European Union and the rest of the world. We're going to give Ukraine what it needs to be able to defend itself, to be able to succeed and succeed in the battlefield. And the other piece of this is, you may recall, one of the reasons why I have spent, well, I won't tell you the calculation, but I've spent several hundred hours face-to-face with our European allies and the heads of state of those countries, and making the case as to why it was overwhelming in their interest that they continue to support Ukraine. They understand it fully, but they're not looking to go to war with Russia. They're not looking for a third world war, and I think they can all be avoided by making sure that Ukraine is able to succeed in the battlefield. So anyway, there's more to say, but I probably already said too much. Thank you. Well, thank you all very, very much. Appreciate your time and attention. And as I said, Mr. President, you don't have to worry. We are staying with Ukraine as long as Ukraine is there. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats until the official delegations have departed. Thank you.